the ancient realms of Norse mythology, a saga unfolded, a tale of a deity as enigmatic as the shifting northern lights. Loki, the trickster god, and a being of paradox and intrigue. In a world ruled by gods of thunder and wisdom, Loki stood out from the rest, a maverick in this divine pantheon. Revered for his wit and feared for his deceit, he was a master of mischief and transformation. Loki's tale is woven deeply into the fabric of Norse myths, both bright and unpredictable. His antics brought laughter and lightness to the solemn halls of Asgard, yet the same cunning spawned schemes that led to turmoil and destruction. His very existence was a riddle, wrapped in mystery and unpredictability. In the coming chapters, we'll voyage into a world where gods walked among mortals, and where Loki, the enigmatic trickster, played his games. A journey filled with tales of mischief, intrigue, and transformation, where the unexpected becomes the norm, and where Loki's legend lives on as a symbol of change and duality. This is the story of Loki. Loki's origins are quite different than the other gods of Asgard. Depending on the myth, he was not born a full Aesir, but rather he was born as a Jotun of Jotunheim, a formidable race of giants often seen as adversaries of the divine. Loki's father was Farbauti, an infamous Jotun. His name, meaning dangerous striker, along with his reputation of being a powerful giant, made him a figure to be feared across the 9 realms. Loki's mother was Laufey, an important Aesir goddess in Norse mythology. Depending on the myth, she was sometimes referred to as a giantess, rather than a goddess. Her name, meaning Leaf Island, fit perfectly with her home, as she dwelled beneath the world tree, Yggdrasil. Together, Farbauti and Laufey gave birth to 3 children, Helblindi, Byleistir, and, of course, Loki. Not much is known about Helblindi and Byleistir, except that they're Loki's brothers. Despite being half Aesir and half Jotun, Loki was only seen as a Jotun by blood, because, in Norse mythology, the bloodlines run through the father. This is why gods like Odin are seen as Aesir, despite being part Jotun on his mother's side. Loki's heritage granted him perspectives and powers distinct from his Aesir counterparts. The giants, known for their brute strength and primal force, were also beings of profound knowledge and ancient wisdom, attributes that Loki inherited in abundance. Loki navigated the world of the Aesir with a grace and ease that belied his origins. His charisma was a key that unlocked the gates of Asgard, Odin's realm, allowing him to mingle freely with gods and goddesses. Though not thoroughly explained, Loki and Odin actually once formed a pact, exchanging blood and becoming blood brothers. In Asgard, he was not merely a visitor, but an integral part of its pantheon. He became an honorary Aesir, where his essence affected the gods' daily lives. Loki, the enigmatic god of mischief of Norse mythology, was a master of metamorphosis, a shapeshifter who transcended the boundaries of form and gender with the ease of the wind changing directions. His ability to transform was not just a physical attribute, but a metaphor for his ever-changing nature, a symbol of his unpredictable personality. Loki could be whoever he needed to be, from a cunning fox slipping through cracks to a fierce eagle soaring in the sky. In the grand theater of Norse gods, Loki played multiple roles, each as unpredictable as the path of a storm. He was the spark in the calm, the whisper in the silence. As a trickster, he reveled in creating chaos, his schemes and pranks stirring the still waters of Asgard. Yet this chaos was not always malevolent. Often, it led to unexpected solutions, to problems the gods themselves could not solve. Beyond his mischief, Loki was also a silver-tongued speaker and a shrewd diplomat. He navigated the complex politics of the gods with a grace that belied his trickster nature. His words could be as soothing as a balm or as cutting as a blade, used to manipulate and negotiate, to weave webs of alliances and intrigue. Loki's words were powerful tools, keys that could unlock doors and minds alike. For some among the Aesir, Loki's ingenuity was a beacon in the darkness, his cleverness often the key that unlocked the doors to their problems. He was the god who thought outside the confines of the ordinary, whose unconventional solutions saved the day more than once. This admiration was born from the many times Loki's wit and resourcefulness had turned the tide in their favor, pulling them back from the brink of disaster. However, there was another side to this coin of admiration: distrust. For every deed that earned him praise, there was a scheme that bred suspicion. Loki was as unpredictable as a storm on the horizon. The other gods, wary of his next deception, often found themselves questioning his motives. His propensity for trickery, for bending truths and spinning lies, wove a tapestry of doubt and caution around him. Loki was a being of complexity and contradiction, a deity who could not be confined to a single role or definition. He was an enigma, a god who defied the norms and expectations of divinity. The familial ties of Loki, the Norse god of mischief, were as intricate and tangled as the plots he created. Loki's heart belonged to two vastly different beings: the fierce and formidable giantess Angrboda and the gentle and loyal goddess Sigyn. These unions were a reflection of Loki's own dual nature, a blend of chaos and calm, strength and subtlety. From his union with Angrboda, Loki fathered 3 remarkable children, each destined to play a pivotal role in the Norse cosmos. However, Odin saw these 3 children of Loki and Angrboda as dangerous monsters. Despite them never actually causing any harm, Odin decided to imprison each of them in their own prisons. Fenrir, the great wolf, was a creature of immense power and ferocity. He was raised in Asgard by the Aesir gods. Fenrir grew in size and strength at an alarming rate, which forced Odin to take precautionary measures. He tricked Fenrir into being bound by chains, and in the process, Tyr, the god of war, lost his right hand. Even though Fenrir was in chains, his destiny was entwined with the mighty Odin in the events of Ragnarok, where he would devour the All-Father whole. Jörmungandr, the world serpent, was a colossal snake that encircled Midgard, the world of mortals. However, it wasn't always this way. When Jörmungandr was but a small serpent, Odin casted him into the waters surrounding Midgard in hopes of ridding it from the world. Despite Odin's actions, Jörmungandr grew in size, eventually encircling Midgard and holding its own tail in its mouth, a symbol of the eternal cycle of life and death. Jörmungandr was destined to fight Thor during Ragnarok, where both beings would fall. And then there was Hel, the ruler of the underworld, a figure who presided over Helheim, the realm of the dead, her domain a place for those who did not die a warrior's death. She wished to start the events of Ragnarok and to bring about the age of the underworld gods. However, like her siblings, Hel was not always evil. She was banished by Odin, some say, for plotting with Loki to overthrow Midgard, while others say it was for asking too many questions about the nature of the gods in Valhalla. From his union with Sigyn, Loki fathered 2 sons, Narfi and Vali. While not much is known about these two, their fates would be intricately tied to that of Loki's, where they would play a tragic role in their father's punishment. Loki's family life was a microcosm of his larger role in Norse mythology, a mixture of the extraordinary and the ominous, the loving and the foreboding. His children, like him, were beings of power and complexity, each contributing to the richness of Norse myths and legends. In these familial ties laid the seeds of many stories that spoke of the intricate and often paradoxical nature of Loki's character. In a different saga of Norse mythology, Loki's wager with the Dwarves, Sindri and Brokkr, was a tale that showcases his audacity and his penchant for stirring the pot of fate. This story not only led to the creation of Mjolnir, Thor's legendary hammer, but also highlighted Loki's complex relationship with the other gods. The tale began with a boastful bet, where Loki wagered his own head against Sindri and Brokkr's ability to craft items more magnificent than those of the sons of Ivaldi, who were their rivals. The dwarves were offended by this statement and accepted his wager. The stakes were high, and Loki, ever confident in his trickery, set the wheels of the bet in motion. As the dwarves labored, creating wonders, Loki, in his characteristic mischievous nature, attempted to disrupt their work by transforming into a fly. His efforts were in part to ensure his victory, but the dwarves' skill was unmatched. They crafted not only Mjolnir, which was gifted to Thor, but also two other marvelous items. Gullinbursti, a golden bristled boar which was gifted to Freyr, and Draupnir, a self-multiplying gold ring which was gifted to Odin. The creation of Mjolnir, though marked by Loki's interference, resulted in a weapon of immense power. Its short handle, a result of Loki's meddling, did not diminish its status as one of the most formidable weapons in Norse mythology, destined to be wielded by Thor. When the wager's judgment came, the gods were in awe of the dwarves' craftsmanship. Loki, realizing he was about to lose the bet, resorted to his wits to save his head. He argued that taking his head would mean harming his neck, something not agreed upon in the bet. Puzzled, the dwarves conferred and then settled for sewing Loki's mouth shut tightly before returning home. Thus, through clever wordplay and quick thinking, Loki avoided losing his head, but not without increasing the animosity between himself and the other deities. Loki's mischief knew no bounds, often leading to unintended consequences and unexpected resolutions. One such tale begins with a prank that spiraled into a cascade of legendary creations. In a moment of impish folly, Loki sheared off the beautiful golden hair of Sif, Thor's wife, leaving her bald. This act was not a mere jest. It was a deep affront, for Sif's hair was her crowning glory. Thor's fury upon discovering his wife's shorn head was like a thunderstorm, threatening to engulf Loki. Fearing for his life, he sought to quell the thunder god's rage and make amends. Loki embarked on a mission to the dwarves, the master smiths of the gods. He tasked them with creating gifts of apology, not just for Sif, but for other gods as well, turning his misdeed into an opportunity to gain favor. For Sif, the dwarves crafted new hair from the finest strands of gold, which grew like natural hair, restoring her beauty and dignity. But Loki's reparations did not stop there. To appease Odin, he presented Gungnir, a spear unerring in its aim, and for Freyr, they crafted Skíðblaðnir, a magical ship unsurpassed in its qualities, able to be folded as small as a cloth when not in use. Loki's quick wit and resourcefulness in turning a dire situation into an opportunity, not only mending his mistake but also enhancing the gods' arsenal with legendary items. It was a classic Loki tale, a blend of chaos and creativity, a testament to his complex nature. The fortification of Asgard's walls showcased Loki's pivotal role in shaping the events of Norse mythology. The story began with the arrival of a giant builder who offered to erect an impenetrable wall around Asgard. His price was steep, demanding the sun, the moon, and the goddess Freya's hand in marriage. The gods, in a mixture of desire for protection and disbelief in the giant's ability to complete the task, agreed but imposed a seemingly impossible deadline. Loki's cunning came to the forefront in ensuring the gods did not have to pay the heavy price. When it became apparent that the giant, aided by his powerful horse Svadilfari, would complete the wall on time, Loki devised a plan. Transforming into a female horse, he lured Svadilfari away, thus hindering the builder's progress and ensuring the gods' victory in the wager. However, this act led to an unforeseen consequence. Svadilfari eventually caught up with Loki and mounted his horse form. Loki became pregnant from his encounter with Svadilfari and birthed Sleipnir, the eight-legged horse of extraordinary speed and strength. Loki later presented Sleipnir to Odin, where it became the All-Father's prized steed. The theft of Mjolnir, Thor's mighty hammer and a symbol of divine power, was a crisis that threatened the balance of strength in the cosmos. It was Loki, with his sharp intellect and keen eye, who unveiled the identity of the thief. Thor sought help from Freya, who provided him with a magical feather that could transform one into a falcon. Thor then brought the feather to Loki, who agreed to use it to help locate Mjolnir. As Loki traversed the realms, he discovered that it was the giant Thrym who had stolen the hammer. Thrym, whose audacity knew no bounds, demanded the hand of the goddess Freya in exchange for Mjolnir. As Loki brought this news back to Asgard, Freya was furious at this demand. Loki, ever the mastermind, quickly formulated a plan to outwit Thrym and recover the hammer. His solution was as unconventional as it was daring. Thor would disguise himself as Freya, while he would disguise himself as a maid and attend the wedding proposed by Thrym. The idea of the fearsome god of thunder masquerading as the delicate goddess of love was as ludicrous as it was brilliant. The execution of this plan was a masterclass in deception. Thor, begrudgingly adorned in bridal finery, and Loki, as his maid, ventured into the heart of Jotunheim, the land of the giants. The ruse was perilous, the stakes higher than the towering mountains of the giants' realm. In the giants' hall, amidst the unsuspecting eyes of Thrym and his kin, the ruse held. Thor's identity remained concealed until he recovered Mjolnir, resulting in a thunderous unleashing of his wrath upon the giants. The tale of Idunn's kidnapping is a poignant reflection of Loki's multifaceted nature, where his actions oscillate between mischief and redemption. Idunn, the guardian of the mystical apples that granted the gods eternal youth, found herself at the center of a perilous plot orchestrated by Loki. For a more detailed version of the story, check out my previous video about Loki and Idunn in the top right-hand corner. As the story goes, Loki owed a debt to the giant Thiazi after helping him on one of his adventures. Under the coercion of the giant Thiazi, Loki lured Idunn out of the safety of Asgard, leading to her abduction. This act had dire consequences, as without Idunn's apples, the gods began to age and weaken. Their immortality was threatened. Loki's involvement in this scheme was driven by a complex mix of manipulation and his own unpredictable whims. However, the weight of his actions soon became apparent. The gods began to notice the effects of aging. When they tried to find Idunn, they realized that she had gone missing. The gods searched far and wide for Idunn, but came up empty-handed. Eventually, it was reported that she was last seen with Loki. The gods rallied against Loki and demanded Idunn's safe return. Stricken by guilt and facing the mounting ire of the other gods, Loki found himself compelled to right his wrong. His loyalty, ever shifting like the winds, swayed back towards the gods of Asgard. In a daring mission, Loki transformed himself into a falcon and flew to Thiazi's stronghold, where Idunn was held captive. Demonstrating his cunning and bravery, he rescued Idunn, transforming her into a nut for the journey back to Asgard, with Thiazi in pursuit as a great eagle. Back on Asgard, the gods could see Loki in the distance. However, they noticed Thiazi following behind him. They readied for battle and waited until Loki passed the walls of Asgard. Once Loki returned to Asgard and Idunn was safe, the gods unleashed their fury upon Thiazi, ending the life of the monstrous giant. Among the pantheon of Loki's deeds, none is more somber or consequential than his involvement in the death of Baldur, the god of light. This act was a dark blemish on Loki's character, showcasing a side of malice and spite. Baldur, beloved by all, began to have ominous dreams of his own demise. In response, his mother, Frigg, extracted oaths from all things in existence to never harm Baldur. However, she overlooked the seemingly insignificant mistletoe, considering it too harmless to pose a threat. Loki, with his penchant for chaos and destruction, saw an opportunity in this oversight. In a malicious scheme, he fashioned a dart made of mistletoe. He then approached Baldur's blind brother Hodur under the guise of assistance and guided his hand to throw the dart at Baldur during a gathering where the gods were playfully testing Baldur's invulnerability. The mistletoe dart, the only object that could harm Baldur, struck true, ending Baldur's life and plunging the gods into deep mourning. This heinous act was a turning point for Loki, marking his descent from mischievous trickster to a figure of malevolence. His involvement in Baldur's death solidified his reputation as a malevolent entity, an architect of the greatest sorrow that befell the gods. This moment in Loki's saga is a stark reminder of the darker aspects of his character, where his actions had irreversible and tragic consequences. The punishment of Loki for his role in the death of Baldur is a tale of stark retribution and enduring loyalty, reflecting the gravity of his misdeeds. Captured by the gods, his fate was to endure a punishment both cruel and extraordinary. In a macabre twist, his son Narfi was transformed into a wolf by the gods, who then tore apart his brother Vali. The entrails of Narfi were used to bind Loki to 3 rocks deep within a cavern, a place far removed from the light of Asgard. Above him, a venomous serpent was positioned by the gods, its fangs dripping with poison. This venom would perpetually drip onto Loki's face, causing excruciating pain. The agony was so intense that Loki's writhing is said to have caused the very earth to tremble, manifesting as earthquakes in the world of mortals. Amidst this grim setting, a glimmer of devotion shone through in the form of Loki's wife, Sigyn. Her loyalty unwavering, she remained by Loki's side with a bowl to catch the venom. Her presence provided brief moments of respite for Loki. However, when the bowl was full of venom, she would leave his side to safely dispose of it. During that time, the venom would resume its torturous descent, continuing the cycle of suffering. This punishment was not only a consequence of Loki's actions, but also a symbol of the deep rupture he caused in the divine order. His bound form, hidden from the world, was a stark reminder of the chaos he had sown, now returned upon him in a poetic yet tragic form of justice. In the cataclysmic event of Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world, Loki's role was pivotal, marking his transformation from a trickster to a harbinger of apocalypse. He would be freed from his bonds and emerge as a leader of the forces arrayed against the gods of Asgard. Leading a fearsome army in the final battle, Loki would rally the giants, his kin from Jotunheim, and the restless dead from the depths of hell, led by his daughter. Alongside them fought his monstrous children, the mighty wolf Fenrir whose jaws threatened to devour the world, and the great serpent Jormungandr, encircling Midgard in its deadly embrace. The battle was a spectacle of chaos and destruction, a fitting stage for Loki's role in the twilight of the gods. He faced his former brethren, the Aesir, in a clash that shook the foundations of the cosmos. This final act was a culmination of Loki's journey through the annals of Norse mythology, from a bringer of mischief to a leader in the ultimate destruction. His role in the end of the world was not just that of a villain, but of a force of change, an agent of the inevitable cycle of destruction and renewal that lies at the heart of the Norse understanding of the cosmos. Loki stands out as a figure of unparalleled complexity and intrigue. He was neither hero nor villain, but something in between, a deity who defied the conventional boundaries of mythology. His story is one of duality and contradiction. He was the laughter in the face of solemnity, the unexpected twist in a tale of predictability. He brought both solutions and problems, his actions sparking both the resolution of crises and the inception of disasters. His presence was a dance of light and shadow, playing across the realms of Norse myth in a spectrum of mischief and malice, wisdom and folly. In the end, Loki's story transcends the confines of mere myth. It speaks to the human condition, to the complexities of our nature and the unpredictable journey of life. He represents the idea that wisdom can sometimes lead to folly, that mischief can have serious consequences, and that even gods are not immune to the whims of fate. Loki's tale endures through the ages, captivating and intriguing. He is a reminder that in every story, there is more than meets the eye, that every narrative has its shades of gray, and that every legend has its own truth. In Norse mythology, Loki is a vibrant, indelible character, a trickster, a shapeshifter, and an unforgettable figure in the pantheon of ancient gods.